In this video, we will be discussing the parenting experiences and the need for parent education programs among parents of adolescents in Korea. Now, mental health problems has become a prevalent issue in the country Korea, specifically among children and adolescents. It came to the point where it is considered as one of the most serious social and health-related issues in the country. These common problems include depression, ADHD, and internet addiction. From 2009 to 2013, studies have shown that multiple high school students and middle school students have suffered from different mental health problems due to stress and depression. Lastly, it was estimated that 10 adolescents at the age range of 10 to 19 years old per 100,000 die annually due to suicide, making it the leading cause of death among adolescents. According to the World Health Organization, multiple risk factors determine the mental health of an adolescent at any one time. If an adolescent is greatly exposed to these factors, then it will greatly affect his or her mental health as well. One of these risk factors is the inadequate parent-child relationship. Adolescents who have an unhealthy relationship with parents must learn to cope or to manage their emotions, and the normal coping mechanism for them is to drink or to become depressed, which lead to various mental health problems. Furthermore, the traditional culture of Koreans wherein the parent prioritizes a strict and disciplined household causes their children to experience family conflict, social stress, and lack of parental support, thus causing a miscommunication between the parent and the child. That is why it is important to address these mental health issues through programs since it is still lacking in the country.
To begin with the method, the study design was a qualitative design on exploring parenting experiences of those with 11 to 15-year-old children and experiences of professors working with both adolescents and their parents. To obtain data, the researchers must have samples, and to ensure the diversity, the researchers recruited parents of children aged 11 to 15 and mental health professionals working with adolescents and their parents. To recruit them, however, they must fit the standards of the research. Thus, there must be a selection criteria. The criteria for parents were 1. Parents who raised their 11 to 15-year-old adolescent and reside with them, and 2. Understand the purpose of the study and voluntarily agreed. The criteria for mental health professionals were 1. Those who have been engaged in relevant fields for more than 3 years, or they must have more than 3 years of experience on adolescent education and mental health care. And 2. Those who understood the purpose of the study and have voluntarily agreed to participate. The researchers had received approval from the Institutional Review Board of the Seoul National University and had recruited their participants through schools, community mental health centers, and local community clubs in Seoul and its adjacent cities using convenient sampling. Moreover, to receive their consent to retrieve data, the researchers had given their participants consent forms after explaining the purpose of the study and its procedures. The purpose of such is to provide the participants confidentiality and power to terminate the interview at any given moment. Once given consent, the interviews were conducted in the participants' homes, workplaces, cafes, or local community meeting rooms. These would usually last for about half an hour or up to 2 hours and were audio taped. For the analysis segment of the research, this had involved the researchers transcribing the interviews conducted and cross-checking its accuracy by comparing the transcripts to the audio tapes. The main analysis method used was a conventional content analysis. The researchers classified data into 2 parts: parental experiences and the consent need for parental educational programs. Words and themes were identified because of its repeated appearances in the dataset. Moreover, the main themes were identified based on these matrices.
For the discussion part of the research, parents' parenting experiences were categorized into 4 themes: The first one would be standing in the midst of numerous discrepancies. Parents experience shame, self-blame, guilt, and even powerlessness, where self-discrepancy results in negative emotion. The negative emotions stem from parent-child conflicts, since the parent becomes skeptical of their parenting skills and loses their confidence as parents. In other words, the self-discrepancy or comparing oneself to an ideal image that these parents feel results in negative emotions. They become anxious and begin to question on how they treat their children whenever conflict arises. The second theme would be outside my child's closed door. Parents experience a desire to put things back the way they were once their child reached adolescence age and become more independent, since the parents develop the fear of losing them. This is when parents create the fear of losing their child when their sons or daughters reach the teen years. They begin to develop the desire of wanting the good old days back. The third theme would be over identifying myself with, yet distancing myself from, my child. With the Korean society having a culture of pressuring the children to become successful, parents believe that over-identifying their children with other successful individuals is considered as a form of love, as well as distancing themselves from them. Korean parents compare their children to successful individuals and train them so that they can become just as successful as they are. This is their form of love. They also distance themselves from their children in order to train their sons or daughters to grow up independently. The last theme would be feeling ambivalent. This is where the parents feel ambivalent or having mixed feelings with parents' attitudes, love and obsession, and discipline. It mostly focused issues concerning their child's grades and balancing with their expectations of their child's success. They tend to blur the line between discipline and love. They tend to show affection in the form of becoming the disciplinarian, especially when it comes to grades.
As for the findings, a total of 27 parents, specifically 2 fathers, 25 mothers, and 9 mental health professionals, 1 male and 8 females, participated in the study. Each participant was categorized by their characteristics. These included parents, age, number of children, age of the children, employment, education, and income. The findings from the participants may be discussed in a manner of the following categories. Parental experiences. Parents responded to the question, "Please share your experiences as a parent of an adolescent child." Parents initially tended to report experiences pertaining to their child's entry into adolescence, such as changes in attitudes towards them, the parents themselves, and their peers. Parents whose first child was currently entering adolescence, in particular, reported feelings of confusion and discomfort related to those developmental changes. These parental experiences would then lead to parents standing in the midst of numerous discrepancies. So this study revealed that 3 layers of discrepancies and conflicts that parents face while with their children, that is. The first discrepancy would be self-discrepancy. This is in regard of a parent's way of looking at themselves. So this would be how a parent looks at themselves versus how a child would look at their own parent. So, for example, would be if a parent is actually doing the right thing versus what the child sees. So, a parent would be able to disagree with the child, but the child sees a completely different picture. A second discrepancy would arise from this: parent-child conflicts. This would report that parents have difficulty in communicating and emphasizing with their child. This meant that the communication between the parent and the child's thoughts and ideas would not be coinciding, meaning there would be arguments and it could possibly lead to fights. And third, the parent's own parental values would verse that of the social norms and pressure. There would be a gap of what society demanded and what the parent wanted for their child. So let's say society wanted more engineers, but the parent wanted their child to become a doctor. Due to the aforementioned experiences and discrepancies the parents face, parents have described a closed door between them and their child. Parents have noticed that their children distance themselves from them, and as a result, not only do the children have the need and want for more and further independence and secrecy due to the age they have reached, but the parents themselves feel disconnected from their children, who resorted to the physical objects that pleasure them. Examples of this would include smartphones, gadgets, and instead of valuing family life, they would value more of their friends. Additionally, parents worry more about their children, some even resorting to begging for their children to feel more connected to them. On a more school-related topic, parents have found themselves over-identifying with, yet distancing themselves from their children. Both parents and professionals reported that parents identify themselves with their children and that their children's successes and achievements determine their standing in the home and the child's standing in their school. So, as it is, parents would feel a sense of pride when their child succeeds, not only because the parents themselves guided those children, but also the children themselves achieved those goals. However, when a child fails, the parent would usually distance themselves from the child, trying to avoid embarrassment towards the child themselves. Situations such as compensation for it or not talking to the child would usually occur because of this. Moreover, the study found that parents felt ambivalent towards their children. Feeling ambivalent meant that they were constantly contradicting themselves when it came to decisions of responsibility towards their children. Parents stated that they want to trust their child but can't trust them completely because they felt upset over their child's immature behaviors, but at the same time sympathize with their child. Due to the aforementioned experiences, discrepancies, and situations parents face with their children, parents have had the need for more parent education programs, and they've expected more from these programs as well. It was stated in the research that both parents and professionals agreed that the current parent education programs were limited because they were not systematic enough or they were too fragmented. They were unidirectional, meaning that instructors were instructing parents what to do. They were too lecture based. They had limited access to and they had a lack of case examples reflecting reality or individual differences. And lastly, they were hard to relate to. Basically, parents couldn't apply these situations from these programs to their current lives. Parents and professionals indicated a belief that parent education programs need to motivate parents to change and help them to practice self-reflection and to obtain a positive outlook toward themselves as well as their children.
In conclusion, adolescence is a transitional stage for teenagers wherein they experience a period of turmoil and stress. Parents with children going through this stage must adapt to their changing ways and behaviors. In this study, different challenges faced by parents with 11 to 15-year-old children were tackled. It mostly focused on the negative emotions and thoughts of adolescents that resulted from the unsuccessful management of the parents when it comes to dealing with their new behavior. Thus, it may affect the mental health of the adolescents since continuous parent-child conflicts may arise. That is why, in order to promote a better parent-child relationship and the mental health of adolescents, education programs that reflect the needs and expectations of parents are required.